allergies probably went down. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you back to another phenomenal episode of Purpose Driven Pivot. I'm your host, Greg Clay, and I'm joined by two phenomenal guests that are representing one great agency doing great work in the space that we'll learn more about them today. I'm joined by Juliet and Marcus. Marcus, how y'all doing over there?
We are good.
Other than these allergies, we're good. This morning I was really nervous because I couldn't talk at all.
Really, Juliet, listen, that pollen in Atlanta, and when it's, the sun is shining like this, we're always kind of begging for some rain too to wash that pollen away. So we all kind of making it through. And so shout out to my Atlantans that are checking us out. If you're not in Atlanta, I know that, pollen is where you are, that you're going through it as well. And so I'm really, really excited about the interview today because the Playbook Agency, which Juliet and Marcus represent, has really, really been helping leaders not just find their lane and their voice, but also sustain their mission as it relates to philanthropic giving and activations in the community. And so when we think about leaders in the space, both of them representing something before merging in a Playbook Agency, I'm really, really intrigued to learn more, not just about the Playbook Agency, but also y'all's story as well. Because Juliet, we met in the past when you were doing work for Big Brothers Big Sisters, when I was kind of going through the loops of being a big, which I'm currently Max. So shout out to JoJo and the folks over at Brown Middle School, right? And the Big Brothers Big Sisters team as well. Shout out to Kwame and them over that way. And so, I love to start these things off in a very, very kind of casual way, right? It's not a formal type thing. I really like the conversational flow. And y'all are great personalities, so I know that, we'll have no problem with, getting to the content. But prior to telling a little bit about yourself, I wanted to remind folks that this is a year-long interview series. Purpose-Driven Pivot was birthed out an idea last year in 2020 to bring dynamic people to the forefront, to talk about how they pivoted on their journey to not just inspire others to do the work that they do, but also to help to change the narrative, just about growth. And of course, with the year last year that we had, and of course, going through COVID now, growth and change and pivoting are a lot about what people are talking about. And so I'll let y'all start wherever you want to. It's one of those things, y'all a dynamic duo, and so if you want to kick off, start talking about, your individual careers and how you got into the Playbook Agency space, let's talk a little bit there.
I'll let you go first.
Sure. So,
Marcus be so chill. He's so chill.
All the time.
Right? I'm like,
Cool.
hey, too cool. I like that shirt too. I got to get me one of those, y'all. Get me one.
We gotta get you. We just got the cups. We got the merch coming.
Yes.
So we have a packet coming your way.
Merch on the way. I love it. Merch on the way. Okay.
Yeah.
So how far are we going? UBS? We talking about?
No, I mean how we got to where we are right now.
Okay. Well, as far as me, I've been in Atlanta for about 5 years now.
Okay.
Moved from New York originally. Love Atlanta. Back in New York, I had a nonprofit by the name of Bridges Enrichment Services. And what we did was just focus on young people and helping them get into college, whether it's resources, whether it's just making connections, partnerships, what have you. So that nonprofit aspect of me has always been there. And then once I met Juliet at Big Brother Big Sister, we had the opportunity to work together, get a chance to learn about each other, our backgrounds as far as nonprofit is concerned, and our weekends and our times that we spent together end up transforming into opportunities where we would come up with ideas for philanthropy. And I'll give it to Juliet so she could kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, it came, how when things are just organic and natural So just a quick background for me. I'm originally from LA, first generation Nigerian American, born here from two amazing, parents. My parents came here for college. So funny story, I was born here. My mom just wanted to finish school, and then we moved back to Nigeria when I was 2 weeks old. So my parents almost killed me in the process because we went through Switzerland or something on the way back home. But like education has just been like the foundation of my family. And our whole life, although we were very blessed to be here, my parents always let us know that, hey, there's people in Nigeria who are struggling. There's people in the world that are struggling. Although we may have been like struggling during our time while our parents were coming up, they did such a great job blinding us to the fact of our certain situation. So just with that, as I got older and started to like notice my surrounding, I just really saw that, there's people in the world who need help, right? And it's kind of like our job to give back when we can give back. So I think that kind of started my path down philanthropy, if you want to say that. I had a daycare, and I started a daycare when I was 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and super young, I went to school for psychology. My mom wanted to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a teacher. And I came to my parents with this crazy idea, like, I want to open up a daycare, which was my mom's, one of her dreams as well. And they gave me the green light, and we opened this daycare. But the twist to it, because daycares are very lucrative businesses, but I grew up in the Carson, Compton area. So I grew up in Carson, California, but a few lights down is Compton. So if you're not from LA, but you probably know Compton from, Dr. Dre, NWA, Compton, right?
Right.
So for neighborhoods that were 5 minutes apart, it was drastically different. And a lot of the girls that I went to high school with lived in Compton. So these are young girls having babies out of high school, and no one telling them to go to school, and so what we did is that we allowed, if you came to the daycare and you went to your junior college and you were coming with your transcripts, we're giving you discounts for your childcare service. So I think that's kind of how it started. Worked a few other nonprofits, fast forward 4 years. I mean, he's 5 years, 4 years. I'm here in Atlanta and landed at, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And I was actually a little growing up. So I'm actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Me and my big sister, I was matched when I was 7 years old. Shout out to Emelita. I just talked to her the other day. Marcus reminds me all the time. He'd be like, you talk to your big sister? And I'm like, nah, I need to hit her up. So, she's been just a staple in my life since I was a kid, and a staple in my family's life. So, fast forward 3 years ago now, met Marcus, and March.
So tell me a little bit more about the Playbook Agency in the context of, the name, when you both, so the foundation around these collective experiences is passion for youth development, great narratives connected to your own personal stories and journey. And then you decide to step out on faith and create the Playbook Agency. Like who takes credit for the name? Why the Playbook Agency? Because you're running plays all the time. Tell us more.
I'll pass it on to Juliet.
Okay. See, Marcus, look, he knows what's going on. Okay, Marcus.
I love sports.
We both.
We love sports.
Yeah. Now, what did y'all play coming up? What sports did y'all play coming up? If any?
I played a lot of basketball, a little bit of football.
Okay.
I was a power forward center back in junior high school, and then for football, I played nose tackle.
Okay. All right.
So I played every sport. My mom did everything to keep us out of trouble. So I played every sport growing up, but my number one sport is basketball. Laker fan, Kobe fan. So everything I do is around sports, and I try to create initiatives always around sports. So when we were thinking about a name, I think we were just like rhyming, throwing things.
Just trying to see what could stick to the wall.
Yeah.
And Juliet came up with this one idea about just drawing up philanthropic game changers, and the next thing we know,
I was like, I think we got real hype. Like, it's the Playbook Agency. We got the playbook. We're going to draw it up. And then Marcus was like, what? And I was like, think about, when a coach is drawing up the X and the O's and drawing up the different plays.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine how hype. I was like trying to draw X and O's and lines on a piece of paper. And Marcus was like, okay.
Well, y'all, that's so important because, the folks that are listening or watching this particular interview that might be in this space, and be stuck on a name because, when you talk about branding and creating something from, just from the mind to making it tangible, it's a big hurdle, and it sometimes becomes a big barrier. So folks knowing how y'all came up, not just with the name, but, you know, running plays and strategic. I really like that angle, you know, the strategic plays, you know, to make philanthropic, you know, giving or strategies better. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that a lot of people don't know philanthropy means.
Yeah.
They don't know what philanthropic means. So
Mhm.
we have to, it encourages us to educate them a little bit. Hey, this is what philanthropy means. This is how you go about doing philanthropy. So I think it fits so well with us and our brand.
It was somebody who's actually heavily involved in the community who didn't. They were like, "What is? You gonna throw people off of that philanthropy? What is that?" And I was like, "Exactly what you do."
Right. So where do y'all? So let's move right into it. So where do y'all start that conversation around, you know, creating that context? Because y'all are from the streets to the suites. You know, I see y'all. You know, you're doing so much in between as well. And so, you know, when we start that conversation about sustaining those strategies and ideas, you know, whether you're talking to leaders or people that are supporting other causes, where do y'all start? What comes to mind?
I think the mission.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. I feel like you always have to have an end point. One thing working in philanthropy, you always meet people who want to. You either meet people who really want to do good in the community, or you meet the people who are afraid because they don't know what giving back means, right?
Okay.
Is it too much of my time? Is it too much of my money? When people hear fundraisers or they hear turkey drives, they hear all these things and they get so nervous all of the time. And I remember back in LA, I will always try to create certain events with, you know, friends or families to help give back. And whenever I'll bring up, oh, it's a charity event, people always get nervous. And I'm like, all you gotta do is just come get a drink and drop off a bag of pencils, right? And they don't understand that, oh, they think that, oh, I bought 10 packs of pencils from $1 from Target. That's not doing much. You never know who that one pencil could be blessing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that mom who does not have that money to buy that. Remember the one time the lady in front of the Hawks Stadium? Phillips Arena. So we went to a Hawks game, and at the time we just did a backpack drive.
Okay.
And we come out the Hawks stadium. There's a mom and she has like 3 or 4 kids in front.
And they're sitting on the ground outside, just asking for money, asking for help.
Yeah.
So I asked for her number, and then we were like, I want to call you and I want to figure out what it is that you really need for your kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because we could give you dollars. I know you guys been collecting things, being out here, but what tangible thing do you need for your kids? So when we finally called her, she said school supplies.
Yeah. And we had a plethora of that because we had a donation from another organization that provided some school supply, folders, notebooks, pencils, a whole book pack. We had boxes full, so we were able to provide that to her.
For Kid Collegiate.
Yes, from Kid Collegiate.
Yes.
A great school in the community on the west side. And so when we talk about this heart for service and things that y'all have pivoted into, you know, comparable to other folks, you know, we talk about the 80-20 rule, where 20% of people are doing 80% of the work, right? For me, in my lens, it's really about 10-90. Or 10% of the people doing kind of 90% of the work. I mean, I consider y'all part of that 10%. You know, this slowing down and recognizing that things are bigger than you, and also helping other people to get there. Let's talk a little bit about, you know, the type of folks that y'all are helping to draw these plays up for, you know, to the X's and O's.
Well, the X and O's really started from the work we were doing through the foundations back in New York, Los Angeles. So when we were having this whole playbook conversation, a friend of mine back from LA was moving to Atlanta, and by the name of Sheldon Williams. Sheldon Williams, Duke Hall of Fame player.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My wife went to Duke.
Oh, well, we'll be.
Now I went to KU now, so Rock Chalk, you know, Jayhawks, right? You know, we got drugged in the tournament too. I think we lost by like 25, 30 points, but you know, it's never too much of a rivalry in my household. You know, the Duke KU.
Okay.
But
every time people meet him, because one thing about Sheldon, I believe Sheldon is the one client that everybody would love to work with.
Yes.
Sure.
No matter what you're doing in life. We were friends, and Sheldon said, "Hey, I'm just moved here to Atlanta. I saw you posted something with Angie Blank. I know you work in nonprofit. You think you can help me?" And I was like, "Crazy you said that, because we just came up with this company, the Playbook Agency." And he was like, "All right, I want to be a client." At that time, we're still drawing up the plays. I don't
Literally.
even had a logo at the time.
We put together our X's and O's.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't have a logo at the time, but Sheldon was just like, "Hey, I'm here. Yeah. This is the city I was drafted to, straight out the NBA. I see the disparity. I see what you guys can do. Sign me up."
And he already established his foundation in OKC.
In OKC,
yeah.
So, okay.
The trust that he had to want to work with us.
And it's a big name too. I mean, for y'all to come into the space, was he one of your very first clients, or if not the first client for the Playbook Agency?
Yeah, he was our first client. Like,
yeah, that's really cool.
Here and there for different people in the league.
Okay.
In Atlanta, Los Angeles, but like
different
as far as
well too.
Yeah. So first official client.
Yes, that paid us.
Okay.
What's Sheldon?
Listen, those milestones are very, very important. Again, for folks that are looking at ways to maybe enact their passion, right? To learn more about that, while y'all have been rocking and rolling through the Playbook Agency, you never know who you're inspiring, and so to have that first client or a first client like Sheldon, like that's swinging for the fences for sure.
Yeah. And in that first year, so I think we signed him in like July, August.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon came out the bat and he was like, I want to do a Thanksgiving drive. I want to do a basketball camp.
He was very ambitious.
I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do everything.
But it made us excited. It made us very excited to match his enthusiasm.
Now, do y'all handle, and Marcus, I know you have a background in finance as well. From a fundraising standpoint, do y'all manage, those types of activities, or more so execution of, more engagement strategies?
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. Okay.
From the root, it's so we like to say we want to help you. We want to help you complete your philanthropic goal.
Okay.
If it's event planning, if it's marketing, if it's PR,
strategy.
If it's strategy is whatever. We looked at his website and we noticed things need to be changed, grammatical mistakes. So it's whatever you want to do with your charitable brand, right? So in that 1 year, and then fighting with the Skyhawks schedule, we had a charity food can drive.
Yes.
And
basketball camp.
Yes, but also the twist we did with the can drive. So we learned from working with Kip Collegiate that in that area, in that part of Atlanta, like some of their pipes in their house doesn't give clean water.
Yeah, the infrastructure is very challenging. Yeah.
So we were told on Thanksgiving that, with these kids being at home, that they're not drinking clean water.
Yeah.
And I was like, in Atlanta?
Yeah, that's an issue, y'all. I mean, other cities have gained national attention. Well, not gained, but forced national attention to those issues.
But right?
Yeah. But when you get close to those issues, even in cities like Atlanta, just like I know, like those types of things are very, very real in neighborhoods where the infrastructure just been aged and dated. And pipes and bridges, infrastructure is not making noise, right? It's not asking for resources and dollars. And so it really, really is unfortunate. But I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. So when we told Sheldon that, he was like, we just can't do canned food. We have to add water. We need everyone to bring, cases of water, Thanksgiving canned food. And because the school stated that a lot of times if the students aren't eating at school, they're not eating at home. And then the Thanksgiving break is coming. So it turned it from a Thanksgiving food drive to a water drive to just a snacks drive, hot dogs and, mac and cheese, because we wanted to make sure that we were providing them with not only food for Thanksgiving for one day, but food for that these kids could eat while they're at home during Thanksgiving break. Yeah. And that event was amazing.
Yeah. Great turnout.
Great turnout. We had so many people come out and just bring so much water, so much food. And the day after that, we had the actual canned water food drive. And the thing about the school, we had probably over 100. The lines were wrapped around.
So we got a chance, just to give context, we had a chance to give the food and water out to these families, these individuals. And as they're coming up to us and they're taking the water, taking the food, they're like, "Thank you so much. We need this. We don't know how much of a difference this is making. Thank you." And they were coming up to Sheldon, thanking him. "We don't know who you are, but we thank you.
You tall, so you somebody. You must play the lead because you tall." And what they did as well, I think that is very humbling that they let students come out of class. So how that has to be to say, "I need to leave and go get this food and bring it back to my locker or bring it back."
Sure.
Which could be a lot for a high school student.
In times like these, during COVID-19, how has that changed the way that y'all have engaged, not just that population, but just in general? The physical contact and being physically present can be a challenge sometimes. How have y'all, pivoted in that? Called an audible, right?
Yeah, we had to close up shop basically throughout 2020.
Unfortunately, we had to. Just for our safety and the safety of others.
Yes, certainly.
But we ended the year with the toy drive.
Okay.
We did do something, yes. We were able to squeeze something.
Sheldon was like, "I know COVID." He was like, "I see players doing things. I see the league doing things. There has to be a safe way to do it." So we partnered up with the city of South Fulton, Rowell, Mayor
Edwards, Bill Edwards down there. Yeah. Recently celebrated a birthday. Shout out to Bill Edwards down there.
So we had the whole South Fulton team and the fire department.
Chief Donna.
Chief Donna. Yeah, amazing folks, and worked with the city to donate toys, and we did a toy drive. So we partnered up with the city, and the cool thing about that is that people don't know that there's a lot of families who live in motels and lodges, right?
Yeah, extended stays. Yeah. We were, and this goes back to my days in working in municipal government, particularly in kind of East Point, College Park area. The extended stay hotels and motels, they were even bus stops on the bus route because you had so many families that were living there. One ended up having to be condemned because the condition was it was a really, really bad situation. But, again, y'all have seen it because y'all have been in the work,
Yeah.
But we didn't know anything about this, Greg, until we had the opportunity to do this toy drive. So this stuff we drive by every day, and people we just don't know about.
Yeah. Well, that's the big push. Like that's why the conversation is so important for that 10%, right? The people that are not just in the know, the people that are trying to get the job done and get the work done. The work that y'all are doing as a company and working with other foundations and philanthropic, folks in the industry, like it's just so important. It really is so not just from awareness of the issues, to your point, Marcus, but like, okay, now what's the solution? How do we talk about or draw up those strategies to make change?
So funny thing is, again, I'm from the West Coast. Boys in the Hood was one of my favorite movies growing up. And there was a part that Ice Cube would say, like, it's either they don't know, they don't care, or they just don't care about the people in the hood, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times is that people don't know, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you put it in front of them.
Sure.
Right? Unless we bring up these problems, like, yes, everything that happened last year with George Floyd was a surprise to the world, but like this been happening.
It's been happening,
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's like, how can we create a way to bring light to things that are happening in our backyards?
Yeah.
Right. The goal of the Playbook Agency is to really work with individuals with influence, right? Because if you have influence, people are more likely to see what you're doing, gravitate, want to do what you're doing. So the main thing we wanted to do is really work with those folks with influence to have a toy drive, have a basketball clinic, give out back to school stuff, post them on your social media. Like that brand awareness can change so much, right? Because there's so much that's going on in our backyards, and we don't know it unless someone brings it to our attention.
Yes, indeed.
That's so true. Just to piggyback on what Juliet said, I'm sure you know, Greg, that you have young people and older people, adults that look like us, that are going to therapy sessions now. That has skyrocketed from last year because now people are saying that, hey, I do need help. I do have traumas in my life that I need to deal with. So, yeah, we don't know until we talk to somebody or we put it out there or put it in people's face that, hey, people need help.
Indeed.
If you are in a position to help and you have the means to help, I think you should do it.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. And being a unit like y'all are, as you know, co-founders of the agency, I think that narrative is really, really important. Let's talk a little bit about y'all in the, in the way in which y'all get the work done for the Playbook Agency. I mean, what do you enjoy the most as this dynamic duo, doing what both of you love and helping to change lives in the process?
I would say,
Oh, Juliet, you see that look?
I'm ready. I would say the impact that we make on the young people, on the children that we. The other day, Juliet and I were at a Thai restaurant, and we saw a kid with one of Sheldon's basketball clinic shirts.
Nice.
Came up to us, and I said, "Hey, did you go to Sheldon's camp?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did. Did you guys put it together?" And then his mom ended up coming right behind him, and he was like, "Oh, we love that camp.
Yeah.
When you guys are gonna do it all over again, because he doesn't get that opportunity to do that in school because of the pandemic."
Nice.
They were asking us questions, and we were like, "We're working on it right now."
Nice.
Yeah. So it's like kind of seeing your work come full circle.
Totally.
I think with us it's about like balance, right? Because we're both like go-getters, and we're really passionate about this. So it's like certain times, I think for me, more for you, that Marcus will have to be like, no more Playbook Agency, no more doing this, no more trying to create this. Shut it off. And
so it's the boundaries conversation where, okay, I got you. So how important is that for, other couples that are working and doing other things, and, whether it be, missions like yours or other things? I know a lot of folks that, are couples that are, trying to make it through other scenarios too. Like, how is that? Is that good, right?
It's good, but it really takes, like you said, like boundaries and like balance between, because
boundaries and balance.
Have that. We have our other 9 to 5. We have friends. We have family. We have life. And if you're just so focused on one thing, then I'm gonna say that I do have that issue.
We both do.
That it's like you gotta snap out of it, and hey, we need to go outside and take a walk. We need to go do this. Close your laptop.
But the thing about it is that when you have a strong passion for something, when you have a zeal for something, it doesn't seem like work. Yeah. It's another day where you get a chance to just have fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we take from it. That's what I take from it.
Definitely. No, yeah, it's. I feel like when your purpose and your passion are aligned, like it's amazing, because I remember the day of the toy drive, and that morning everybody was really nervous because we're going into like these rough type of areas.
Oh yes.
It's COVID. People don't have masks on. A lot of people wanted to kind of like be in the back, but then again, having a client like Sheldon's like, all right,
he's in a mix of everything.
He's like, he came in his elf outfit. He's like, okay, I put my gloves on. He's like, I want to pass the kids, and I'm throwing the toys out to the families and sneaking people around and giving them more toys. And for a lot of people, they were there like so serious, but like for us, like we're having this is Christmas. We're in these humongous fire trucks, coming up in these neighborhoods, playing Christmas music, and families and kids are running out, and it's fun. And I feel that working nonprofit, period, you have to love what you do.
Yes.
Because you get worked.
Yeah, it's mission-driven work.
You get worked. So if it's not for you, don't do it.
I didn't want to get too far from what could potentially be a book title, a workshop title, that boundaries and balance, or balance and boundaries. You know, that's something that y'all probably can, you know, do a workshop on or something. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's the title of the first book. I don't know.
We'll teach it and we'll go. We'll be the students and the teacher.
Yeah.
This semester.
We can never stop learning, right?
Yeah. So as a couple, you know, once you put the boundaries around the Playbook Agency, what do y'all, you know, what else do y'all enjoy doing? You mentioned restaurant, Marcus. You know, anything that y'all do? You mentioned that y'all were athletes. Do y'all play basketball against each other at all, or you know, what do y'all do to mix things up a little bit?
Eat.
Yeah.
Eat. You sound like me and my wife. That's what we do.
We come from two opposite ends of the United States. Myself, New York, Juliet, LA. So we just like to discover the South and what they have to offer.
Mhm.
Southern food is amazing, is what I'm starting to learn.
Yeah.
Especially after 5 years. I'm surprised I'm not bigger than what I am right now, to be honest with
I
you.
mean, that COVID weight was no joke. We're working out that COVID weight, but it's just exploring the city. Like,
Yeah.
I think for me in LA is amazing. We have the beaches, but being there my whole life, I know from Hollywood to anywhere. But Atlanta, it's always like we're always going somewhere. Like Decatur has been like the new spot, and we'll go to the Decatur, and we're leaving the farmers market, and we turn, and we're like find a nice restaurant. I don't know if you've been to the Bamboo Forest.
I've heard of. Yeah,
Amazing, right there on the Chattahoochee River. Let me tell you that hike is no joke.
Okay.
When they told me about it, they didn't tell me how bad that hike was.
I had to carry it on my back.
That hike was horrible. But when you actually got to I'm like, this is Atlanta, and there's bamboos with the lake right there. So I mean, with us, we both love life and love food.
Love to travel as well.
So every day and we love basketball. So we sit up from being on the West Coast. We could stay up to like 2:00 in the morning watching basketball and highlights.
Growing up in large cities, New York and LA, you know, when we talk about Atlanta, and while Atlanta has a big city feel, it still is, you know, a smaller town. How has that adjustment been for the work that you all do, or does it help to your experience in larger cities? Does it help to even influence your approach to some of the things you do with the Playbook Agency?
Great question.
It pushes to do bigger.
Yeah.
Because the nonprofit I worked at in Los Angeles, like all of our events were humongous. So like the way I think when I'm planning something, and like Marcus, you can talk about when you went to Jamaica and you know what I mean? So the things that we do or we did before we came here, I think it's just always just Atlanta is a country. Like, I think I was just watching, you know, Housewives and all these shows before I lived here. I thought Atlanta was a big city.
Right. And I'm a native. I'm a native, y'all. So y'all can talk. We can straight talk it. You know, for those folks that are watching that may or may not be. All right, I'm a native, so you know we can straight talk all of it. You know, it's a small town, right? Yeah. But it's when you think about Atlanta or hear about Atlanta, and now for both of y'all working here in Atlanta and making your home here. You know, it is different. It's totally different.
It just makes me want to go harder.
It does, yeah.
Nice.
I like to tell the story when I first moved out here, and I wasn't working at the time, so I'll take trips. Just put an address in my GPS, and I'll just start rolling around the city. And I was in Midtown, and then I made a right, and I just kept going down, and then I just started seeing like blocks and blocks and blocks of abandoned houses. And I'm just like, I see no grocery stores. I'm seeing the corner store that says liquor, beer, and bread.
Yeah.
And I called my cousin and I was like, hey, Waze took me somewhere. And he was like, what street are you on? I told him. He said, you're in Bankhead, lock your doors, turn around and drive out. I think that right there was that switch for me that, sure. You're here for a purpose.
Sure.
Because no one ever talked about disparity in Atlanta.
You know, in Juliet, I've heard that story before for people that have experienced the city, then seen these additional layers. And folks get upset that it's not talked about often,
Yeah.
right? Or there's not enough in a solution or policy space to make that change. But even now, the gentrification conversation, when we talk about Bankhead, there was a recent story around. It was one story, but attached to a lot of different narratives around just new housing coming into certain areas at a certain price, and legacy Atlantans not being able to enjoy, some of those newer things. I think that's a real big conversation. Have you all found yourself in that strategy space in some of the clients that y'all have been working with?
Yeah.
Whether it be, foundation or nonprofit or, individual giver?
Yeah, I remember going to an event at the Art Blank Foundation a few years ago, and it was stated, I don't know if this changed, like the top 25 metro cities in the US, like Atlanta was like number 23 for disparity, meaning if you're born in poverty, more likely you're gonna die in poverty.
Yeah.
And to me, I was just like, that blew me away.
Yeah, the Annie Casey Foundation did a report as well that found 96% of Atlantans born in poverty remain in poverty over the duration of their life.
That's humongous.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
I was one of those kids growing up in a household where we were living below by the grace of God, and you just try to, education helped to transform my perspective in my life.
So you tell me only 4% of people get out.
Yeah. And y'all listen, Marcus, I share that message when I'm in schools, Title I schools, in Atlanta, where reports say only 4 of y'all if I'm talking to 100, no matter what you do.
yeah.
Right. And so how do we work to not just tell that narrative around statistics, whether or not you believe the stats or work? You can take 10 points off and it's still 86%, right? For 20 points, it's still, but it's, this awareness that y'all talked about before, and then saying, okay, how do we make this statistic change? Individual, person by person by person, story by story, effort by effort, organization by organization,
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times that conversation gets lost in the mission of a lot of organizations, or just,
I agree.
Want to do. I feel like sometimes people don't like to start with a negative all the time, but I feel like you have to be real. If we keep it real, like, yo, we're doing this because X, Y, and Z, right? Or let's go into these communities.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go in here. Let's do all this stuff. Let's see it. Because if I didn't see it, and to be honest, I think that was, for my last job, I had to go into those areas, a few times. But what if I never went into that area?
Sure.
What if I never worked at a job that exposed me or made me go into those areas?
Sure.
I will still do the work that I do, but in Atlanta, would I be going as hard as I'm going, right? Mm-hmm. And even with Sheldon, when we had that first initial meeting with Councilwoman, and Councilwoman, when she told us about the situation with South Fulton, and we're like, we live in South Fulton, right? And she's saying there's families, sometimes 6, 7 kids in one lodge. And if you think about a lodge, there's no refrigerator, there's no stove, there's a bed or 2 queen size beds and a bathroom. And there's families that live there. Mm-hmm. Giving out toys and clothes for that drive is good, but what else can be done?
Yeah.
Right? So just always bring those type of conversations to the top of people's minds. Like, yes, we have our lives, you have your things going on, but sometimes just showing up at an event, passing out food or passing out toys, like that time can change a life.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. And so all of the pivots that y'all have made, even as a company, with the Playbook Agency, and this notion of keeping it real, and this uniqueness that you bring to the table when you're trying to figure out or help bring solutions to the table. For those listening that want to learn more about, what makes the Playbook Agency so unique, what else comes to mind? Y'all are both pretty cool athletes, great experience in the space, keeping it 1,000 all the time. What else comes to mind for folks that might say, hey, I need to pick up the phone and call Juliet and Marcus?
We all can do something to change someone's life.
And make an impact. Yeah.
Yeah.
One person that we hold to a high regard is Michelle Willis Taylor, and she's always uh, finding opportunities where we can network with people and just get a chance to know about another person's work or about their company, about what passions they have. So, and when she does have events, everyone is talking. No one no one is getting away without talking or explaining what they do, what business they have, what passions they have, and ways that we can connect. Because that's one thing with our community is that we don't do enough things together cohesively compared to other races and what have you. So
I agree.
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just working together, coming together, and just finding a mission and putting our hats on, and making it happen, bringing it into fruition.
Because that was a pivot. Because Michelle's our client, but we just, I'm her publicist, and we just manage her PR.
Yeah.
So she's just African American mom who loves her family, who loves her boys, who loves the city of South Fulton. She created a book, a parenting book, Parenting in COVID, because all of her kids have strived and thrived during COVID. And one thing about her is she creates a dinner party that everyone wishes they can go to, right? That I want to make sure that your brand, that your company, that your shoe, your book, your whatever is amplified by the time that you leave this room. And I think we need more spaces like that.
We do, to just encourage and push you. You need people that encourage and just push you and want to big you up. We don't have enough of that. We
don't have enough of it. Y'all are right.
And we're actually coming. It's a COVID. We're having Sheldon's launch party next month. It's going to be COVID friendly. We will be telling you and your wife about it since
you are. She's from Duke. Yeah.
She's probably on a list because our interns has like a list of like 50 Duke alumni here now. So your wife may be one of them.
Listen, Duke runs. I mean, they got a network here. And I'll go to some of the events, and I'm kind of looking around. When they learn I'm from the University of Kansas, people stop kind of talking to me. But, basketball is college basketball, right?
Trust me, I know. I went to Syracuse, Greg. So
so you already know too.
So they go back and forth.
We go back and forth all the time.
Awesome. And so, when it comes to other things that, for what y'all do professionally, personally, individually, I like to keep these things, to a soft kind of hour. And as we approach time, for everything that y'all have been involved in and plugged into, the power around starting something and pivoting into something, any closing thoughts around, what people need to hear that might be on the fence? Any closing thoughts around, why it's so important to, take your experience, find the right person to build a business with?
Yeah. I think one, that you only have one life to live. So if you're gonna do something in life, just make sure that you have some connection and there's passion to it. A lot of times that we settle in life for a job or for whatever. So always try to make sure that you have some type of connection, that it does something for you after, that 9 to 5 ends. That give back, people. Like, there are so many people in the world who need help. Right? We're not saying that you have to create a foundation or a 501c3 or whatever. You can smile at someone. Like, that smile that you're giving a person can really change their day.
That's real.
You never know. Marcus thinks I'm weird because I smile at everybody. But.
No. I mean, it makes such a big difference. I'm a big guy on Dale Carnegie, and that's one of his 7 rules. Is to just smile. It makes such a big difference. You don't know how many people you'll touch in a day, or what impact you'll make just by smiling. So something as simple as that.
I know we got our mask on, but we can still smile with our eyes. I feel like with COVID, people have lost a sense of empathy.
Yeah,
sure. Right? The grocery store last week, there was a little girl walking around.
Lost, yeah.
She looked lost, and everyone was just walking past her. And I walked up to her and I said, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "I can't find my mom." And I said, how long have you been lost? She said, I've been walking around the whole grocery store this whole time and I can't find my mom. And walked through her every aisle. And I'm like, what does your mom have on? She's like, she has work clothes on. Her mom ended up being a nurse that had smocks on. She had to be about 5 years old, but really taking the time. And the mom was like, first of all, she walked away from me. She shouldn't have done that. But the mom was searching as well.
Yeah.
And it was like, what if we didn't stop for that little girl?
Yeah.
Because she was walking past crying, and everyone, I feel like people are losing a sense of like being human.
Yeah.
That's real.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's so stuck in their mind and just trying to get and go and be safe. Just make sure that they're safe, period.
Yeah.
To the point where they're not really understanding or realizing what's going on or aware, back to that same word, about what's going on around them. So
Yeah.
I didn't see that little girl until Juliet came up to me and was like, this little girl's lost. I'm like, what? What little girl?
Yeah, he stopped me. He said, how did you know? I said, she had a mask on. Yeah. He said, how did you know? I said, I just saw it in her eyes.
Body language, yeah. You could tell.
Looking at people in their eyes.
One person at a time, y'all.
Yeah.
One person, one client, one foundation at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
I've got to have a conversation with y'all about like family trust and philanthropic giving through that room. Yes. That's one thing that I certainly wanted to kind of throw out there before the end of the conversation. I'm thinking about, different ways in which, how my wife and I give, but formalizing that in a way that makes sense, to really double down and triple down in that space,
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot of people that do it, but with y'all being experts, now, do y'all work with individuals like me? Do I have,
like we said, we're open to.
I'm not a big name, you know what I mean? I'm not.
Greg, you're a big deal in Atlanta. Don't do that.
I'm humble. I'm a humble servant.
Yeah,
Yes,
but you just being authentically you and doing God's work has amplified you here in Atlanta, right?
Appreciate it.
Staying true to yourself. So don't do that. You a big deal.
No, well, it's good to work with. It's good to work with and connect with folks like y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
To Marcus's point, that the ability to unify, right, and have that conversation around how things align. I talk about it all the time as it relates to politics or maybe civic conversations, but everything's so connected, y'all.
Yeah.
Everything is so connected. And even that human side that y'all are talking about, that ability to slow down and realize when trouble is around or through that connection, my need to help. Right? Like that's what leadership looks like too. So
yeah, it does.
So imagine this, like you tell a friend, you tell a friend, you tell a friend, and you're like, hey, let's buy a gang of food and just go pass it out.
Yeah.
Right? It's not taking that much away. We go to restaurants to spend $100 on appetizers or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But that money or that time can really make such an impact. And I think that's the message that we want like a lot of people to leave with, that it doesn't take that much out of you to make an impact on somebody else's life. And I believe that if people start understanding that more people would do more. Yeah. You're a big brother, right? And you probably saw, and a lot of people see that time and that commitment, and they're like, oh, that's too much for me. But when you actually in it, you're like, oh, this wasn't that bad.
And it's a learning experience too. I mean, like it is, it's one of the biggest types of learning experiences around commitment, and it's not just a one-sided or one-dimensional type of mentor-protege type of connection. You learn a lot about just the need even, or what's happening and how students are changing because of the circumstances around not going to school and not being able to be around each other. Like, when I was in middle school, that's all we're from sports to just kind of being around. It was just completely different. Same, I'm sure with y'all. It's just our kids are going through some different things now.
Yeah. This whole time is just, it's like you said, different. That's all I'm ready to say.
It's a paradigm shift. And we're at a point where we're at a new normal now. on it. So we're just gonna have to adjust moving forward. Young people, us, everyone, companies, we're just gonna have to adjust now moving forward.
We're gonna have to pivot.
And I'll leave on this note, because, for what y'all are doing, and when I see leadership, hear leadership, experience leadership, I always recognize it, for what y'all are doing as people continue to think about, how things are pivoting and changing, y'all's voice, the Playbook Agency's voice is important in that, and so, the more things that come into question, the more things we need solutions and leadership around. And if you don't have good folks in the space to sustain that work, you see things all the time, start and stop. What y'all doing is real. And so kudos to the Playbook Agency, man. I want my merchandise, so I can represent. I like that shirt, man. I really, man, that's it right there. I love to represent.
Now we got a few things coming in. Like we said, we got the cups on. You have coffee in here. Coffee will stay cold, will be hot for like 5 hours.
Yeah, there it is.
Miss Marketing right here, Miss Marketing.
Hey, look, there it is. Take a picture of that, right? So where can folks continue to find y'all and learn more about not just the Playbook Agency, but y'all and the clients that y'all serve?
Yeah, you can go to the Playbook Agency on Instagram, or on LinkedIn, the Playbook Agency, Twitter, Playbook Agency. And our website is theplaybookagents.com.
Okay. Big things coming up next. You mentioned book launch client,
Yeah.
Other big things they want to plug before we close out?
Yeah, so we have the launch party coming up next month. We have the youth summer event sponsored by Wilson's Sporting Goods coming up.
Okay.
It's going to be this last year, I just think kids in general, they don't know how to go outside and play anymore, right? So the sports day is going to be a fun family fun-filled day of basketball, football, hacky sack, potato sack races.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have a few vendors coming out. UPS will be there. Have a job booth there. We're going to have American AIDS Health Foundation there, teaching families and youth about safe sex and everything.
Nice.
We're going to have some food vendors there too. So look, the goal of this event is for families to come out, enjoy themselves, and not spend a dime.
And have fun.
Yeah.
Yes, have fun.
Good.
Outside and have fun.
Yeah, we're outside. So we want you guys to be outside safely. But I just believe that families need it.
Yeah, they do.
I'm looking forward to it. And anything I can help to kind of help get the word out about it and all that fun stuff at the appropriate time, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll send that to you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having us.
No. I appreciate, just the opportunity to spend a few minutes with y'all. I know y'all are really, really busy as a dynamic duo, not just changing the landscape and narrative in Atlanta, but just in everything that y'all do and what you represent. And so, come on and talk in a very, very candid way, keeping it real about everything that you got going on. I really, really sincerely appreciate your time.
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, keep up the great work. Folks, you have just heard from Juliet and Marcus. They represent the Playbook Agency. Be sure to plug in and learn more about what it is that they've got going on. I appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to Purpose Driven Pivot. Again, I'm your host, Greg Clay, and we'll see y'all next episode. Bye, y'all.
All right.